Hello, and welcome to Hey Hi, Who Are You? The podcast where we talk about creative, everyday people and interview normal people that do cool things. So today, our guest is Abbie Kingsbury. She is the owner of Abbie Darling Customs, a local jewelry company in Kitchener-Waterloo. So I'm really excited to have Abbie on. She has been a really big inspiration to me for owning a small business and also supporting local business. She's a big advocate for Indigenous rights and in general, just an amazing woman. So I'm really excited to have her on the show.
Oh,
Oh, hello.
hi. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day.
And same to you. Same to you. Thanks for rescheduling so I could eat.
Oh no, this is perfect because I woke up at like 8:45, kind of like half groggy, and was like, I need to
Yeah.
make coffee. So you pushing back by 15 minutes was like time to make my coffee.
Amazing. Thank you. I know it's funny, like on the weekend of a long weekend, especially, it's like, oh, 9:15, but any other day it's like I've already worked like 6 hours by this point.
6 hours? Do you actually wake up that
That's
early?
probably that's an
That's an
exaggeration, but
exaggeration.
some days for sure, because the kids, it's like, well, whenever you want to get up, I guess I'm up.
True. Are
Hello.
they like super, super early risers? Do they wake up at like 3 or 4 or 5? Oh
Sometimes
God.
they're getting a little bit better now that um my 6-year-old can read, so it's like, you can do whatever you want, just go in your room and read. Same with like, stay up as late as you want as long as you're reading. So
Yeah. True. Well,
she'll
that's
do
good.
that. Yeah. But she also, this is just a very funny random thing that she does. She's obsessed with this song by Carole King called Chicken Soup with Rice.
Wait, that's
it's
so random.
it's a great song, but she plays it over and over and over again. So it's just like, even if she's like, okay, I'll just go and read, then she's blasting that song in her room. So it's like, I guess I'll get up. I
So
can't
does
listen
she
to this
read with
anymore.
that song blasting? Like she can read while
Yes.
that's on? That's so funny.
Well,
I
and I mean, this is allegedly, like she
allegedly
says,
reading. The book might
yeah,
be
yeah,
open to make it look
yes,
like reading.
yeah, exactly. She's also like reading, it just depends. Sometimes it's like literally baby books from, like, her whole life that she has memorized, or like Babysitters Club's like chapter books, like where she's clearly just enjoying like flipping it.
You know what? That's still better than nothing. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's still
Mm-hmm.
better than like staring at an iPad, you know? She's learning the motions of reading.
Yeah, exactly. And I said that's how I became like a decent reader, was because my parents were always like, nope, you have to go to bed at 8 o'clock, but you can stay up and read as long as
Yeah,
you're
so you
reading.
probably
So it's
read for
like,
like a couple hours every night.
always, or like all night, just because I didn't want to go to sleep.
I know. Isn't that so funny? Like, I mean, I'm still kind of weirdly like, oh, my cat is saying hello. I don't know if you can hear him.
Ooh,
Hi, buddy.
hi, buddy.
He's randomly very chatty this morning. Hello. But yeah, I was like gonna say it's so funny when you're little and you're like, I don't want to go to bed. And then now it's like if I could take a nap at any time of day, yes, please.
I know, right? Yeah.
If you could get all
Yeah.
the hours back that we pretended we didn't want to sleep. Oh my
Oh,
God.
I know. Yeah, totally.
I
Totally
mean,
agree.
especially as a mom, I'm sure that's multiplied by 1,000.
Oh, but then when it's actually time to sleep, it's like, oh, but I'd rather do
Get
this.
stuff done because the
So
kids are
yeah,
sleeping. Yeah,
yeah. And
true.
it's like the time where so I'm very happy, thanks to social media, to learn that there are so many other
Oh my gosh.
parents.
My dog. Sorry.
That's okay.
Oh my
Who
God.
knows what noises could be coming in my house anytime.
We're at the
So
cottage and my dogs are just, they're going to be
I was
crazy.
gonna
So,
say, it looks very cottagey. That's
yes, this is my cottage.
oh,
Welcome to my,
amazing.
yeah, like we share it with my uncles and aunts and my cousins. So this is like it's like basically we built it like a big barn so that like 60
Uh,
people can fit in here.
Amazing. Where is it?
Do you know where Magnetawan is? It's like, or like
Mm.
Berks Falls or like Huntsville?
Okay, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so it's like half an hour north of Huntsville, sort of.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's like
beautiful.
between
So
Huntsville and
beautiful.
North Bay.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a decent hike to get there.
Yeah, it's like, well, we don't hike, we drive. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. If you want to kind of
Oh.
explain, um, what you are all about and what your little like elevator pitch of yourself and Abbie Darling
Oh,
Customs is.
yeah. Yeah. See, and I really should have like a brand new elevator pitch for the new name, for the new me, everything. And I don't,
Well,
shockingly.
that's okay. This will be
But
a workshopping of it. You
yeah,
give it
okay,
a good
perfect.
try.
Yeah, so I'm Abbie. I create brass and crystal jewelry that is meant to empower people through reminding them of their why and being able to wear what is important to them. I think that fashion and adornment of all kinds is super powerful in terms of like what it can say about us and what it can remind and speak to us. So yeah, I've been
Yeah.
lucky enough to turn that passion into a business over the last 3 years, and I'm loving it. So
I can't believe
yeah,
it's been 3 years. I feel
I
like I
know,
remember like when I met you, it was like under a year of you doing
I
it. And
know.
that
And
feels like so recently.
isn't that, I know, I just like the memory came up in my timeline and I was like, oh my God, because that was 2 years ago when we went and did that photo shoot all
Yes.
together.
How
That was
is that
already two
possibly
years.
2 years ago?
I
Like that
know.
is insane to me.
I've been saying for the last little while, like, I can't wait to read, or maybe I won't read any of it, but like modern philosophers take on time after this year, after
Right? Time
2020. Like,
means nothing. Time is
no.
like the only reason I at all know about time right now is because I have hair again.
Oh, yeah,
Like
that's true.
because
Your hair
yeah,
is so
yeah, I
short.
was like
Yeah.
just growing out of the buzz cut 2 years ago. So like that's like the only like measurement of time I have. Like
Yeah,
other than
yeah,
that, it
that's
doesn't.
so true. I did a podcast recently and I was so worked up about it and she edited it so perfectly. But yeah, at the same time it's like I also love, that's why I just did that little series as lives, because I was like, screw it, if I have a chance to edit this, I'm gonna like
You're gonna overanalyze it.
obsess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
actually
So
talk about your mini series. Your IGTV series has been so cool. How did you even come up with doing that?
oh
I didn't know you were doing it until you were on episode like 3, and then I came in and I was like, "Oh my gosh, wait, cool."
so yeah, it was awesome. So we did not we I was lucky enough to have some really amazing friends that are super awesome experts in all kinds of areas, but specifically I really wanted to find a way to talk about why I was changing my business name in a meaningful way for other businesses, to really reflect on the importance of, well, A, words, because
Mhm.
words matter, but B, how sometimes small businesses, especially like solo proprietorships like this one where I'm sitting in my studio spare bedroom, right, where I
Same.
create everything, yeah, right, like sometimes as small businesses we think, oh, what can I do to help with a cause, or what can I do to end the ever mounting stresses of the world that just feels so big. But at the end of the day, I really do think that we all use words, we all use them more than ever in the printed form, right, with the last year being the way it is, and just with content creation the way it is. So I wanted to, yeah, chat with some really amazingly experienced and educated folks about how words matter in business and branding and content creation, influencing all of those things, to show people that, you don't always have to take the biggest stand to make a really big difference for
Hmm.
inclusivity and bringing everyone into the conversation. So,
Yeah, I love
yeah,
that. I feel like that is
thanks.
so exactly what your company and you stand for. Like, I think yeah,
Thank
like I messaged
you.
you that the other day where like my mom asked like who you were because I mentioned we were recording
Mhm.
and I was like, well, she makes jewelry, but it's a lot more than that. And then I like
Aw.
explained kind of what else you do. And like it is true, like I honestly I do think of you as like a jewelry designer, but then like most of the other things you ever share are other local businesses and raising them up and like other causes that you care about, which I think is makes like you said makes your small business have a way bigger impact than just selling
Mm.
necklaces, you know, like yes,
Thank
selling necklaces
you.
is great, but like
Yeah.
having a bigger impact, like you are able to have a bigger impact with your one person, which is so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think too, right, like there's, again, like I said right at the beginning, I think there's a way to make all of your choices matter. So whether it be like the clothing you wear, the jewelry you wear, like everything that we do, everything we say, everything we project and put out into the world matters.
It's like
So
intentionality, like yeah, just
exactly.
putting that
Yeah.
one extra thought into
Yeah.
everything we do. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, this last year, there's been a lot of moments, I think, for everyone where we've had these existential crises where it's like, oh God, what's next? What am I going to do? What can I do that actually counts for something? And, you know, to me, I love, like, for example, I just did the launch and like the launch of my new name and my new site and new products. And it was awesome. And it was super fun. And I'm so excited to put that out into the world. But without coupling it with things that really matter deeply to me, it's yeah, it's
It's
just
kind of like,
that, then it's just business if that's all I'm doing, right? Like it's easy, well, it's not easy, but it is also easy to just, right, work, and yeah, finding those ways to make it matter, make it a
yeah.
lot more special. So.
Actually, would you want to like explain your whole branding change? Because I mean, I understand how it went down, but do you want to explain how you changed from Young Huron to Abbie Darling Customs?
Yeah, that's I mean, that is the sort of like question, but I always appreciate it because it's excuse me, it's just so important. So yeah, for 2 years I was operating under the name Young Huron, and it was a name that was sort of I'd come up with it with my best friend. My best friend thought of it only because we both ended up moving to Kitchener after going through a lot of different things in our lives. And somehow we both ended up on the same street. Not like
Chance?
totally, yeah, totally unbeknownst
What?
to us. She moved here about 6 or 7 years ago. And then when we were looking to move here, the one house that was like in our price range and even available at the time was on Old Huron Road. So we both
Oh, I
got
love
this
that.
opportunity. Yeah, I got this opportunity to sort of restart, refresh, I guess just, yeah, just it felt like almost like a rebirth. It felt like something was so new. And so she's like, well, instead of Old Huron, let's be Young Huron, which at the time, you know, I still, the sentiment of it was really something special. That being said, after operating under that name for 2 years, um, a fellow artisan on social media that we've chatted quite a bit, but she is an Indigenous artist and brought up that, you know, have I ever considered as a white settler run business that the name could be seen as offensive or appropriative to the Huron Nation.
Right. Which
Um,
if like and then when they say that, it seems so obvious, but if I can see like I wouldn't have thought of it if that had not if you hadn't said it, I would never have thought of it. And
and
it sucks because you didn't mean like that's not at all what you meant. You had
but
a very
and
other reason for bringing that into your
yeah,
life. It meant something
and you
different to you,
know,
which is yeah.
and that's something like there, I said in the beginning, a lot of people expected this really like salacious like argument, but
Oh,
as
no.
soon as she brought that up, I was like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that, right? Like
Yeah.
that's, this is, those are the moments where excuse me, where people really need to think about, okay, what have I reflected on in this last year? Not just this last year, but your entire lifetime. But this last year, we've been so fortunate to have so many, um, I guess just so much knowledge at our disposal through social media, through media outlets, regarding like race and how to actively be anti-racist. And so when this artist brought it up to me, obviously I was super uncomfortable. I was super like
Well, because you
upset that
feel
I
like
hadn't thought of
you
it,
almost feel
but
like you have to like defend, but then you're like, but I know that I don't. You have to kind of like pause for a second and like just think about it. Like you
yes, and
don't do
that's
anything right
exactly
away.
it.
Yeah, like
Yes,
yeah,
because I think that the our initial reaction to defend is something that I think everyone needs to step back and
yes,
pause on. We
yeah,
don't, the defensiveness has to stop. And like, if you're uncomfortable, it means that it's probably important, right? Like
Yeah.
it's something that you really need to dig deeper. And so that's I took a lot of time to sit back and say, okay, well, the minute anyone lets you know that something you have done or said has caused harm in any way, right? That could be, it could be like as simple as slipping on someone's pronouns. It could be as huge as using a word that represents an entire nation of people that you didn't even think of when you created a brand, right?
Yeah.
Um, but you need to just sit with it and step back and say, okay, I need to listen to that person because their discomfort is so much more important than my discomfort, because I haven't been harmed through my discomfort, right? There's been no violence in sometimes a metaphorical sense, sometimes a literal sense, but
Yeah.
there's been no violence against me through this. So I need to now think about it. And for me, and I think this is true of everything, then you need to change it, and
Yeah.
you need to recognize, apologize, but apologize with action as well, because just saying
Yeah,
you're
because you could just
sorry.
say, "I'm sorry that my name's Young Huron,"
Yeah.
and keep operating under that name, and that might be okay, but that would no longer reflect your ethos, which like I know you specifically are so like you're such a kind person. Like I don't see
Oh,
you continuing doing that because like I remember when you first posted being like, "I'm sorry, I need to change it to YH jewelry for like
yeah.
a period of time before I come up with my new name." And your
Mm-hmm.
explanation was so nice. Like it was not
Oh,
defensive at all. Like it was basically just I
well,
didn't realize and I will be taking this time to like figure out what my next step is. And I
oh.
thought that was like very
We
graceful.
were talking about this, and it was something that an educator, an anti-racist educator said, and it literally like flipped a switch in my brain last March, where she said, being anti-racist isn't about being nice. It's not about you being a good person. It's about you being a person and bringing every right. Like, and so I'm grateful if people find, the words that I chose to use kind or whatever, in the sense that I never want, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
not really,
no.
yeah, it's not really in me to be super combative, but at
Yeah.
the same time, like, um, there's deeper things to the name, well, to any brand name, anything that people bring up. And by people, I should say, like, just thinking of lots of different brands that have been called in to consider either their names or slogans they've put on shirts. Big one with
There's
slogans
like
on shirts, right? Like,
yeah, and like there's so many where they've taken like traditional crafts like and just used
yes,
that technique and just pretended like that didn't come from anywhere.
absolutely. And and that's where people will be like, oh, it's just a shirt, or it's just a name. And what about the Huron,
But
like, what about
everything
Lake
means
Huron,
something,
what about,
like you were saying.
it
Everything
does,
means something. You can't pretend it doesn't, because if everything
right,
doesn't mean something, then everything means nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like
totally,
it's
yes,
kind of all or nothing. Otherwise,
yep.
how are we choosing what means something?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, it is a deeper, it's the deeper root of white supremacy. If I was to sit back and be like, but nobody knows that. No one else has brought this up to me
Or
regarding
you
the
could have
name.
also said, "I'm a small company, it doesn't matter." But
Yep.
like that's
And
not
but that, right, like, it's like, how do you carry on when you know that, how does anyone carry on when they know that that's something they've done or said or used, or has in any way inflicted what any form of harm on someone else. So
yeah.
that was the name change. And as you say, I went to YH, which I absolutely hated. Like, I
Yeah,
hated
it
it.
honestly didn't suit like every time it popped up I like knew
Oh,
what it was, but I
it
was
was the
waiting for you to
worst.
rebrand.
Yeah, it was the worst. And it was because I'm not gonna like, I'm not lying here. I have bought so many domains. Like, that could be my side hustle now, is like selling domains that I didn't use, because I would be like, yes, this is the name. And like, oh my gosh, I have so many logos, and I have had so many gracious friends and designers that I've hired that like, I never used anything because it just didn't feel
Feel
right,
right.
and it
Yeah.
didn't feel me. And um you know, like a lot of people have also something again like that. I hope that people choose to follow along after they hear this and see this. But
Yes.
for those that already know who I am and what my business is, like, for so long I was kind of trying to go with like this sleek, clean, like beautiful sort of look to my branding.
Which I feel like is popular, but like that
Yep.
it just kind of like blends into the rest of Instagram and
Well,
like the rest of
and
the world. Which
yeah, and you know what? That is not me. I'm sorry. Like I was thinking about it like in terms of, you know, like when people use like planners for their Instagram grid and like you have like the visual merchandiser for your grid, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. That's just so not my style. Like my
yeah,
style is like, okay, I can't like I'm gonna post today, but I'll figure it out today.
I feel like you're more
And
funky. Like I feel like you don't you yeah, I don't know. I
well,
agree.
and so yeah, like when it came to the rebrand, it was also like, screw it, I'm gonna start doing exactly like what I want to see, like what I love seeing when I go on social media, or like the styling of clothing and jewelry the way I like it.
Yeah.
And then I hope other people like it too. And it went along with that whole idea of you know, like when I first started this business, I did not go to school for business whatsoever. And
Oh
when I
yeah, you
started
can give
it,
us like a tiny bit of history
oh
too
yeah,
if you
there's
want.
lots to me, but well, I mean, I've worked 1,000 different jobs, but my big one was teaching. And so I taught at the high school level for 7 years and I loved it. But
And was it
um
history or what were you teaching?
I taught English and social justice.
Oh,
So
okay, cool.
yeah, and I guess well, sociology, but
Right,
I
cool.
couple the two together. But I brought that, I was going into business from that field after moving and switching boards and realizing I didn't want to start supply teaching all over again.
Mm.
So started this business. And you know, at first I thought like, oh, business, like you got to keep politics out of business. You've got to keep your personal opinions out of business. You give the people what they want. That's not fun. Like
No, and
it's not fun. And
I feel like the last few years especially have like changed that actually. Like I feel like
mhm.
now almost not too far, but almost too far where it's like now business and like everything about anyone related to that business has to be aligned. Otherwise,
Yeah,
people will notice and point it out. Like if you are
totally.
not aligned with what your business stands for, like people will point it out. Like it will not
For
be a
sure.
secret. So like yeah, like you being I mean, especially since it's just you doing your company, I feel like you can
Yeah.
make it basically be you are the company, so the company is you. But I guess it's
Yeah.
hard to keep that line from blurring too, because you kind of want to keep yourself separate a little bit too.
Yeah, that's something. And I think, right, I mean, social media is like the biggest business in the world right now.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've been consciously trying to be more aware of, is like, yeah, blurring the lines between my own life and then my business, because my personal life, like there's got to be some things that we keep personal. Like I could share every hilarious moment of my day because there's plenty, but I've realized like I don't have time for that. Like it gets exhausting. I don't know how like content creators and
I
influencers do
know. I
it.
feel like
It's
basically everyone's life is like on the verge of becoming a vlog.
yeah,
Like it's
totally.
like
Yeah.
I've been falling into that trap recently too, and I have to like catch myself and be like, no, I will put this phone down for 5 hours and not
Yeah.
film anything. I don't
Yeah.
want. And then like there's this weird part of me that's like, oh my God, something funny happened and I didn't catch it. And it's like, but it doesn't matter. It's such a
Yeah. Because you
weird.
cut it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I know I was there. I don't need
Yeah.
like why do I
hmm And
like
I think too, like
weird.
it's been this year, right? Like this last year, there's going to be a lot of detoxing
Oh,
from a lot
totally.
of things at the end of lockdown. And for me, social media will be right up there, and just phones in general, like my phone in general, because now like the 24-hour news cycle is literally 24 hours because we could have it always on,
Yeah,
right? And
because
so,
we're not going anywhere else, so we're gonna have
yeah,
it all the time, and like
yeah,
the only connection to the outside world is our phone. So like our
yes.
phone is like has become the grocery store, has become our friend,
Yeah.
has become our everything.
Everything, absolutely. Becoming sort of the brand that I am now and the business that I am now was definitely dependent on going through all of those those sort of stages. And definitely, I'm so much happier now that I've infused the business with everything that I used to do. And by used to, I mean like with teaching, but being able to bring in other people, like that was sort of always a really important thing for me, was that I would bring in speakers into my classrooms when we were able to do that, and had really amazing leaders in like harm reduction. I would have someone come in to speak to my class about harm reduction. I can share all kinds of articles about it, but having someone that actually works it and lives it and experiences
Is
it,
way more powerful.
so much more powerful. And so I'm super happy that even though I sell jewelry, I was able to bring that in and find like an organic way for it to kind of meld together. I also said, like, because I do stamped jewelry and I'm so often using people's words that matter to them so deeply,
Mm-hmm.
it was really great to bring all of those things together. And like this year, having the Words Matter um, series was super, it just felt like the perfect way to sort of segue into the new version of this brand and see where it goes, because I love jewelry. I don't know if it's the empire I'm building. Like, I haven't decided yet.
No, I think you've left it very open-ended though. Like I think you have like people are following you for not just jewelry. Like people are
Oh,
following you
thank
for
you.
you in a lot of ways, or at least I mean I am, but I mean maybe it's because I've met you.
Well,
But
thank you.
but like but no, I think the Words Matter fits so perfectly with it. Like it may as well perfectly match with your Wear Your Why, because you've been
Yeah.
doing that for a couple years now, and like the
Mm,
Wear Your Why really is like you do the custom pieces for like people's like parents who passed away or like loved ones or
mhm.
whatever, and like that's so perfectly matches up. It's
Oh,
very
thank
powerful.
you. Yeah, it's been awesome. So yeah.
You had were all your guests like local people, or were they kind of all over the place, or people you actually know, or people you've met online?
So yeah, thinking of it, funny, I guess almost everyone is someone that I've met online over
Isn't
the
that
last
so
little
cool?
while.
Would you ever have
It's so
thought you would have
cool.
like hung out with people you've met online? I would never have done that before like a few years ago.
Yeah, it's so hard to say, because I just like, I love the social aspect of being online. Like
Me too.
and I think back, and it's like I used to have pen pals that I met, and or not
Oh,
met, that I had pen pals when I was little, and I always wrote to them, and then we would become friends in real life. And like, even when I was a lot younger, like talking on the phone was super important to me. And there's just friends that I would meet once, and then we would just talk on the phone. That was our friendship, right? So it's it's been super awesome, and I'm so grateful that I've been able to meet other people that can also sort of like blossom into a beautiful friendship, even
yes.
though we don't actually get to hang out. And again, it's like, thank God for that this year, because what
Yes,
the
I
hell
would have
else would we have
literally
done,
sunken
right?
into a hole if that didn't exist. Like
Yeah.
imagine 1918 pandemic or whatever, or 19, what year was it?
Yeah,
1921,
yeah,
whatever year it was,
yeah,
like that one. What the heck were they doing? They were like
I
sending
know.
letters to each other being like, "Okay, I'll wait 2 weeks."
Yes, I
How
know. And
depressing.
that's
It was really
uh,
cute. My best friend from summer camp. This is such a like childhood like sounding story. My best
mhm.
friend from summer camp wrote me a snail mail letter and sent it a
Ooh,
few days ago, and I got it. Like it was such an old-timey feeling. It was so
mhm.
nice, like getting a random package. Like she didn't even like text. Usually, I feel like people say like, "Oh, like a package is coming for you," but she didn't
Yeah.
even at all. Like she didn't say anything. And just like this surprise package came. It was like it felt like I was back in like 2004. I
Yes.
got like
Yeah, it's
surprise
so
package.
nice.
It had a
Yeah.
random present in it that she thrifted for me, which is so cute. And it had just like a long letter, basically about nothing because we message
Yeah.
on Instagram every day, so there's nothing new for me to tell me.
Yeah.
But she sent
Yeah.
me a letter basically. She was like, "It snowed here in New York today. I was thinking of going skiing, but I didn't. And like, I can't wait to talk to you soon." It was like just like about nothing, but it was so
Yeah, it's
nice. It was
so
so
nice.
cute. I love it so much. It made my day.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it is. It's just we needed we needed more of that, and I'm grateful that we have so many ways to make that happen now. But yeah, all of the guests were primarily local, so between like the Tri-Cities and Guelph, and then my friend Mike lives in Ottawa. And I say my friend Mike, I mean, we have never met in person. And I don't even remember how I started following them, but I did. And then they put in an order on my website, and I was like, oh my God, like, cause
I felt like a famous person ordering.
yes, because that's the really sort of special thing about what we can do, especially when we're pretty intentional about who we choose to follow. It's like, we get to pick and choose the
Who you make this
celebrities in our
connection with.
life.
Yeah. And you're like,
Yeah.
I totally put these random people who are not famous on a pedestal on Instagram.
Oh,
Like this one
I'm the
lady,
worst with saying
I'll
that.
let you get back to your Mike story in 1 second. But there's
Yeah.
like this one lady I follow that I kind of assumed she was famous because I've been following her for so many years. And then I
Mm-hmm.
randomly like went and I like all her photos and I sometimes comment and stuff. And then I like went to her profile and she only has like 1,000 followers. And
Yes.
I was like, oh, this is someone's personal account that I'm weirdly fangirling over. How weird is that? Like,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
posts really beautiful photos of her daughter with like
Mm-hmm.
flowers, and their life is so
Yeah.
beautiful, and they do crafts. And like, I've been commenting all her photos for so long, but like, whatever. That's just what Instagram. How like,
Yeah.
like weirdly made this connection with this lady that lives in like, I don't know, somewhere in the States.
It's just been so great to see how willing people are to share their stories, share their experience, but also like, I guess just amplify issues that matter, right? And so just thinking like Mike's account is Everyday Girl Dad. They
Oh,
are
I follow
very,
him too. Yeah, or
yes,
them.
yes,
Sorry. Oh,
them.
yes, them.
That's
No,
okay. But
I
yeah,
follow them too, and oh, their content is awesome. They make me smile
yes.
every time I look at it.
And it's one of those things where like I'm, because they do parenting stuff, but then also just so much other stuff I've been
Yeah.
so drawn in. And it's the same with, there's so many other accounts that think about people and what they put out there as being so big and so like larger than life. But then when they respond back to me or like reply to a message, I'm just like, oh, we're just
Yeah, well, because
people.
like
We're
it's
just
a real
people just
person
talking.
behind that account. Like it's
Yeah.
very easy to like kind of forget that yeah, it's just a regular person.
Yeah.
Like they're not some like if you saw them on the street, they would just be a normal person. They would not be like,
Yeah.
walking on air. Like they're
Oh
not.
my gosh. So this is again, this is like straying from any kind of branded content here,
Oh
which I
no,
am
this
all
podcast
for
is about
doing.
all sorts of random stuff. It
Good.
can be the last one I did yesterday was about God knows what.
Well, and so just speaking of so I love music, love music, and I've always loved like female fronted, like
Yes,
femme
aren't you
pop
into like kind
punk.
of like grungy like girl bands? Like I feel like that's your
Always,
vibe.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's like who I am in my soul. And so this year I've been really purposefully looking for new bands to follow and listen to on top of like all the old ones that I have literally like run the tape, run the record, run everything its
You've
course
run
for
it
the
dry.
last 30 years. Yeah, like, oh my gosh, my partner's always like, are you seriously listening to this again? Seriously?
You're like,
But
yes, this is my
yes,
anthem.
yes, exactly. But so I found a new band this year called the Bomb Pops. They're from California. They are like SoCal
Like
punk.
bomb, like
I
BOMB or BALM?
Yeah,
BOMB.
BUBomb. Yeah, like
Bomb.
bomb.
Yeah, nice.
So they are, I love them, love, like poppy. I literally can put it on and blast it when I'm mad, when I'm happy, when I'm dancing around. But the kids love them too. And so I have two little girls, and it's been so like, that's something that we've tried to do is like, okay, let's turn off the TV, let's just listen to music, let's
Have a
dance,
dance
let's
party.
whatever,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we've been consciously trying to do a lot of. But now they're obsessed with the bomb pops as well. And so,
Yay, you're like a growing little feminist dance party
well,
of little girls.
and so this all comes back to us fangirling hard because one day I was like making a bed in my room and like getting things together for them to go to school. And I just hear them go, Alexa, play the Bomb Pops. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I dreamt of as a 15-year-old girl loving girl bands, being like, I'm going to teach my kids to
And
love this,
you
right?
did, and you hear their little baby voice sing.
Yes. And
So cute.
then I messaged the two singers just to say like, hey, I just want you to know like that this is what just happened and your music really means something, and it made me so happy. But also, you know, like they're like two incredible women playing on like they're on Fat Records. That's another thing. Like if you ever want to do like an all punk podcast, I'm here for it.
Okay.
Or anyone else that's watching, if you're but yeah, they're on Fat Records, and it's like they toured with like NoFX and like some really like down and dirty, not always welcoming to women punk, or I should say at least that's the projection, that's the
That's how you
image.
see it. Yeah, no. Okay.
But yeah, like I just said to them, thanks for letting them know that there is a place for them in punk and in all rock and roll, because now they know no different, right? It's like
Yeah.
I just feel like this year it's so like it's been so amazing. It's like, look, yes, girls can be politicians. Oh, girls can be the vice president,
We
like,
can be
right, this.
whatever the heck we
Yep.
want. Yes.
Yep. And
Yes.
so I messaged them thinking like, oh, you know, I send my long emotional messages to everybody. So
Me too.
oh my gosh, always. And so 5 minutes later, Polly, the one singer, not only replied to me, but sent the girls a video,
Oh,
like just saying like, hey girls, I heard that you were listening.
oh
Thank
my gosh,
you. I hope.
that's so cute.
And she has just been so sweet. And then she started following me and I like went
Oh my
wild.
gosh, so you've made friends, you've made another
Well,
internet friend with your like favorite band. That's so cool.
yes. And I think too, right, like that, those are the beautiful things, not just about the internet superhighway that we all live on now, but also
Yeah.
like how art can bring you together. Because no matter what it is you're creating, like you can make it matter so much
Even if you
in
only
so
like
many other ways. Yeah.
yeah, and like I feel like it can matter so much to a small group of people, and that does
Yeah.
not mean
Oh,
it means any less. Like I think,
yeah.
yeah, like that even the Bomb Pops like clearly aren't like they're not like the biggest band in the world, but in
Yeah.
your household they are, which like
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
that's so cool.
Right, like, and it's like whatever it is you're creating, just know that it matters in so many different facets to so many
Yeah.
different people for so many different reasons. Again, another friend, someone that I feel very lucky to say is now my friend, Elena from Soft Flirt. she
Oh, yeah.
she said, so beautiful, her brand is incredible, everything she makes is
Also, that
stunning.
name for some reason is so cute. I love that
It's
name.
and it's
Soft
yeah,
Flirt.
it's I adore it. I adore everything that she has created with it. But yeah, like she was a visual artist. She went to school for visual art and worked in textiles and has now since translated it into like apparel and home decor. But she always says like you need to be creating something just for you. So
Mhm.
don't, like, there's too much pressure right now to monetize everything. Like
Everything.
I and you and I have talked about this, right? Like we love making clothes. I don't have to sell them. I
No,
can just
I
make
made this
them.
one. I'm
And
not selling it.
yeah,
It's
I know,
mine.
same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also one of those things when you don't um yeah, when you start selling your product, you have to make sure that you perfect it.
Yeah,
And
which I
that's,
hate doing. I am such not a perfectionist.
yes, same. And I'm really good at figuring things out as I go, which means there's lots of
Yes, same.
botched
There's lots of duct tape.
samples. Yeah. Yeah, right. And I
Yeah.
think like that was, again, like I'm learning this because I introduced resin crystals that I
Mm.
made.
Yes, they're so beautiful with
uh,
the flower petals and everything.
they
So
are, they're so beautiful, they're
mhm.
so hard, like
It's worth it.
I,
They're beautiful.
but it is one of those things where I'm happy I introduced them. I'm happy that I shared them. People have been like, oh, when are you going to restock them? It's like, I'm not totally sure because I don't want to do it it still feels so creative to me that I don't want to like put this pressure on myself of like, okay, it needs to be done. I need to have 10 pieces done by tomorrow, da, 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 da,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I do with my
With the
jewelry
rest of it.
typically.
You want to keep one part of it fun and creative, at least.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And so yeah, it's the same with like, yeah, like making clothes. I love them. I don't know if I ever want to sell anything clothes. Well, no. I would love, there's certain things with clothing, but anything that has to do with sewing is definitely never going to be sold by me.
Me neither. I've
Because
tried. It really doesn't. It's hard.
it's so hard. It's so hard. Like I literally marvel at like my pieces from Bella. Like they're so beautifully crafted
I
and
know.
perfect. I
I
love them, but it's
I
not
like
something I can do.
well, I mean, but you like without sewing or anything, like you are very good. Like I know people laugh at saying you're good at thrifting, but you specifically are very good at
Oh,
thrifting.
well, thank
And
you.
you
It is
always
an art.
share
It is
it
an
is
art.
an art.
That's for
Like
sure.
and like you're very good at going to actual like nice local thrift stores rather than like Value
Oh,
Village and stuff, which I think is really cool. Cause like do you
thank
wait,
you.
what's the one in Kitchener like white is it White
Perfect.
Tiger Vintage?
Oh, White Tiger. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that store is
Yeah.
so beautiful.
That store is just like when people say things are a vibe, it's like that's a
That's a
vibe. Like
vibe. That's a
I
vibe. I feel like I'm
literally,
stepping into like the 70s. I
yes.
wish that I could like look like that store.
Hmm. And so this is like if anyone is listening that is of my vintage and from London, there used to be a vintage store called Lehman House. It was like, oh my gosh, when I think back to like, like the store, like it was like we just would take the bus downtown just to go there. We had no money, but like they did everything. They did like all the theater alterations. So they had like wild costumes,
Oh my
but then they
God.
had like a seating area that like just in the seating area had like incense and like lava lamps. And it
Oh,
was just so
you just
like,
want to
and
like
then,
hang out in there. I'd be like, can
yes,
this be my home?
yes, and literally that's what we were like because then it had a downstairs. Oh my gosh, I'm just remembering this. It had downstairs and then it also had an upstairs that was like a record shop. I don't it was just so cool. And
Well, there's
the
one in
other
Montreal that you would really like then. I'll tell you about it.
really,
Yes.
yeah. And it's and so I feel like White Tiger does that. It's a smaller
Yes,
space,
but
but
they get to get
it
that
does
vibe in a
it.
very small space. Totally.
Yes, as
Yes.
soon as and like, just the couch at the back, like you just feel like you can
Yes,
just
with like the
hang
crocheted
out.
pillows, and it like just feels like
Yes.
you're kind of at like your cool old aunt's house. That's how it feels
Yes.
to me.
Yes, exactly. It reminds me, like I had a tough day the other day, and so we were like, screw it, we're just gonna put on a movie. It was like 1 p.m. We put on a movie. We watched Empire Records in bed. I got some
I haven't
Hungry
seen that
Ninja.
one.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And you must because it's
Okay.
like
What is
it's
it? When is it from?
I think it's 95. Like
Okay.
it's an early movie, but it's like the big one for like Renee Zellweger's in it.
Oh, I love her.
Oh my gosh, why Liv Tyler, like anyway, but they work at this record store and it's just like everyone will want to not just work at that record store, but like
But
live at
be
that
those.
record store. And that's what yeah, so that's what I like in like, yeah, places like White Tiger. It's like that
Mhm.
I just want to live there. And
The
yeah.
one in Montreal, it's called Eva B's. Have you ever heard?
Oh, I've never been there,
It's
no.
it's basically like this old like broken down mansion, and it
Cool.
is amazing. Like whoever runs this
Oh,
store, I don't know who, but they like literally do not discriminate on what they sell. Like they sell the weirdest crap, but it's all high
mm,
quality random crap. Like
yeah.
somehow they have sourced, I don't know from where, but they have an entire room for vintage denim, an entire room for vintage leather. They have weird mannequins
Dreamy.
everywhere wearing crazy
Yeah.
hats. There's like you can buy every color of thread you could ever want, and they're all like from the 50s on like old spools. Like I don't know where they're getting this
Oh,
stuff. Like maybe they're going to like old estate sales of like old women or something. I don't
they
know.
must. I've started to dive like way too deep into um like celebritizing thrifting because I follow all these thrift accounts, but like I'm more just following it because I want to see like where
what
do
they
you get your
find.
stuff? Like, how do you find it? And so, yeah, finding like some of, I think like a lot of people do like the by the pound, like
And then they have to
donations. Yeah.
sift through the thrift.
Which, yeah. And oh my gosh, it's just so exciting to see it.
Um,
Sorry.
Random, but I feel like I remember when we first met, you said you grew up with sisters, right? How many sisters do you have?
Yes. I have four sisters.
You have
So we're
four
like the
sisters?
same. Aren't we the
I
same?
have
Or is
three
it three of
sisters.
you?
Yeah. So we have
Okay.
four of us, but
Yeah.
I have three sisters, so it's four girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
know.
there's five of you?
Five.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
I am
Wow.
the oldest.
Oh, you're the oldest. Wow, I'm the
Mm-hmm.
youngest. Okay, true. So we're on
Yeah.
the opposite ends.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I'm sure we grew up probably pretty similarly, growing up with
Yeah.
like,
Yep. Exactly.
yeah, like I feel like, did you guys grow up being super creative all together too? Like,
Yeah, so all of us were really into, thankfully, very similar things. So, like, my sister, that is a year and a half younger than me, like, we were into all, for the most part, the same music, which was really important. It's funny, I just texted her like a few weeks ago to say, like, thanks. I just want you to know that, like, essentially, you made me the person I am. She's like,
oh,
what are you? She's like, why are
she's
you
like, why are you
saying
being
this?
so emotional?
Yeah, like she's like, how much have you drank? What's going on?
You're like, only
But
half a bottle.
yeah, but but I was like, no, really, like you introduced me to all of my favorite things, including like my all-time favorite band is Brew. This is the thing. I am of a vintage where like I still remember like having to wait to see a music video on the TV
Oh my God,
and like
MTV.
yes. And so that's what I said to my sister. I'm like, you introduced me to like my lifelong favorite band because until that point I was obsessed with Salt and Peppa and Aerosmith. Those are like my two favorite. Oh, and
Well, you
TLC.
can't go
That
wrong with those two, though. Those
I
still
guess
love
not,
today.
but yeah, but so Aerosmith, I taped their video off Much Music, and then she's like, "Oh, you gotta wait. The next video that's coming up, like on the countdown, is like this band that is really good." And it was Veruca Salt, and so I taped it because she told me to, and
Oh, you
yeah, here's
recorded
my
it.
life now.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah,
That's such
so
a like
it's
90s origin story.
oh my god, right? Like it couldn't be more.
And you said you
And
were in a band?
yeah. I was in a band. Yeah, I was in
What
a
were
few
you
different
called?
bands. Oh, well, that's funny. We my longest running band was called the Candy Darlings. So we
That's
and
so cute. That sounds like a
yeah.
barbershop quartet.
Oh, well, that was our goal. We were yeah, that was our goal, to be very cutesy, but we played like punk. It was great. It
I
was
love
very
that.
fun. Yeah,
I
it
love
was
how
awesome.
there was like that whole punk kind of like the baby doll grunge. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Where like it was kind of
Yeah.
cute but kind of badass.
Yeah.
Like I wish I would have been actually alive for that because I
I
feel like I would
know.
have really liked it.
Yeah, it was the best. It's also, I always think back to that because I was alive for it and I loved it and I lived it. But it's funny how you romanticize things. Like I always think like, oh, I would love to have been like in like the 70s, like rock and roll, like,
Yeah, for me it's the
you know.
60s, but I feel like if you were actually there, it isn't as amazing as you think it
Hmm.
would be.
And but it's also that good reminder of like to stay present and focus on like what you're doing now, because yeah, there's people that'll look back and be like,
It'll
damn.
romanticize what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we got to look at
Yeah.
the amazing parts that people in the future will be like, "Wow, I wish I could have been there for that." But we are here for that, so we should
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
true. Yes, that's a good
Exactly.
point. Very true. We were talking about thrifting, and I forgot to ask, what's your favorite thrifted find? Do you have one that you can think of, or
Ooh.
maybe pick like top few?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's such a good question because it's so like near and dear. But
And I
you
feel
know
like since
what's
we thrift so much, almost everything's thrifted, so it's really hard to like choose
yeah,
one
yeah,
thing.
that's a big thing. Like because I think so 4 years ago I went totally like I only started buying thrifted. I've since branched out a tiny bit to buy like local small like
Yeah.
apparel, but anyways, I think one of my very favorite finds was actually not thrifted. I bought it through a thrift shop. Her name's Jennifer. She goes, her handle is with Ninny. Her company is with Ninny. But she had a pair of vintage Blue Notes made in Canada denim. this is like my prized possession because I used to work at Blue Notes Thrifties like a long, long, long time ago. Like it put me like through school basically, but Blue Notes used to be so different than it is
It did.
today. It was like all made in Canada denim. It was like they were in the same supply, like they were in the same factories as Levi's. Like it was like,
Oh, so they were like kind of just cheaper, but made the same quality.
right.
Oh,
And
okay.
so they were just so amazing. And yeah, so Jennifer had this pair of vintage Blue Notes that I was like, I remember this. Like they're the low rise straight legs, which now that is so different
Low
from what
rise,
we would consider.
I can't even imagine wearing low rise anymore. No, thank you.
But and the funny thing is that when we got these in, I thought they were low, but they're like still like above my belly button. Like
Oh,
vintage low rise is so good. Like I love it.
vintage
But
low rise
anyway,
is still high rise. That's so funny.
yes. And so those are probably one of my most prized possessions.
Actually, I was wondering if you had any tips for like moms who are trying to start their own side hustle. Because I feel
Oh,
like
that's a
there's a
good.
huge demographic of that,
Yeah.
but a lot of people kind of like get lost in the sea of like, the whole like women boss movement online right now, or like at
Yeah.
least in the last 5 years or so.
Yes.
Great, I love it, but at the same time, it's overwhelming, and I feel like it's
Totally.
like romanticized, like work from home, work for yourself, and like
Yeah.
it's fun, but I feel like that's not real. So do you have any like
No.
real stuff to give people?
That's a good, yeah. Yeah. A Oh my God. Like, don't sacrifice things like sleep. That's the biggest thing. Like, it's easy on social media to make it look like someone can work 22 hours out of the day, but you can't and you shouldn't, especially if you have small humans that you're taking care of. But I think the funniest advice I got from a podcast actually when I was first starting out. Again, that's something else. Like I know podcasts aren't for everyone, but when someone is trying to start a business, it's like, no, look for all of your local podcasts,
Oh my
especially
gosh.
now,
Yes.
because this is where, I mean, this is where small businesses actually get to shine and share so much. And you can put them on while you're listening. Like you can listen
You
while
can
you're
be like
working, while
packing
you're doing
orders
the,
or whatever
yeah,
and
doing the
learning as if
dishes,
you're at like
whatever.
it's like being at a workshop while you're just at home. It's
Yes.
amazing. And you're meeting people
Yes.
from around the world who have expertise in things you could
Yes.
never get access to otherwise, which is so cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, like, locally, when it comes to different sort of like groups and things for people to follow, I really like Makers Collective. I adore
Yes.
Laura and Lacey and Jeff are doing such amazing things. But it's also a great place to find other local businesses that then can sort of guide your way or help you out. There's also Honest Hustle. Mary Angelica from Honest Hustle runs like a what doesn't she run? But
Yes, she's
she
busy.
has she's just the greatest human, and it's another place where if you do have the opportunity and the means to join the Honest Hustle Club, like it's a way to join a group of like-minded, specifically women, and many of them are also parents, so you get really great I guess
Support.
just like yeah, support out of something where you also are given like resources and like very actionable steps for your business.
Oh, that's
Um,
great.
but
I didn't know that
then
existed actually. I knew about Honest Hustle.
yeah,
I didn't know about the club. That's really cool.
yeah, and I so recommend it, especially when you're trying to start something on your own. Like even my partner's super supportive, but some days I'm just like, don't even like talk to me about this because you've heard it all, and I get it. Like you're just we're not going to be able to have a conversation about this because we're so intertwined while
Yeah, you need
also
like
not.
someone outside of your bubble to listen and just be a new ear,
Yes.
and like someone to
Yep.
bounce off of. Like me and
Yep.
Bella and her mom like are constantly like that. Like I
Exactly.
can always go to them and always be like, okay, listen to this horror story of this project I was working on that fell through, or like whatever, like
Yes.
my shipping got messed up. Like, isn't that
Yep.
horrible? and they'll be like, yes, it's horrible. And then we'll like all like cheers, you know?
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, I
And
think
then,
finding a community of small business people is so important. Otherwise, you're
yeah,
just an island.
yep.
Yeah.
And you can be so quickly overwhelmed by all of the other stuff, right? Like I was actually talking about this with Jennifer from With Minnie the other day, because like reels are the new way to get your
Reach
engagement up.
anyone. Yeah.
Like I think what we, especially parents that are trying to start either a side hustle or a full-time business at home, like, give yourself grace with like all of the other stuff, because it's so easy to get worked up with like, oh, keeping my engagement up, oh, I got to make this many reels, I've got to do a post a day,
But
I've
then
got
you
to
realize
get my,
that's not even your actual business. Your actual business
yeah,
is either making jewelry or doing your blog or
yes,
whatever the thing is. And you get caught
yes,
up in all the other stuff and you kind of forget, well, like going back to you, forget your why. You're like, why am I even
yeah,
doing this? It's not to make reels.
yes,
My business isn't to make reels. It's to share
exactly,
whatever you're doing. Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
So like it's
And
really easy to get caught
oh
up in
my
that
gosh,
for sure.
so easy. And so also remember, like, it's okay to pay someone to do things, again, if you
Yes,
have the means,
outsourcing if
because
you can.
yes, because for me it's like I don't even really understand what SEO is, like, and that is okay, especially when you're parenting and you're trying to hone an actual craft that makes you real money, and
Yeah.
then you're also learning like website design and all of these
Well, you're
other things.
doing 25 billion jobs
Yep,
for
yep,
the price
exactly.
of one.
Yep. And the funniest, most actionable thing I suggest to any person starting a business, but also like, yeah, parents, download Canva, just like the
Yes,
free Canva app,
Canva is
and you're
such
well on your
so
way.
worth it. Yes, no, Canva is like basically whoever made Canva is basically a saint.
Yes, right. And it's not
Thank
perfect.
you.
It's so far from perfect, but
But it gets you started. It gets your foot in the door. It's
it
true.
gets you started, and it gives you the opportunity to create like um, the brand image that you want, right?
Mhm.
Whether or not it's going to be perfect, because when I look back on all the stuff I made on Canva that I thought looked so sick in the beginning, it's like, ew, this is so bad. Just some people that are like, oh, I feel so like silly that I didn't know about that. Don't.
Any tool you can have access to that can just make your life that much easier, do not
Yeah.
feel ashamed to use it. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, yeah, like sometimes
Yeah.
I have this weird shame about using Canva because I know how to use Illustrator and InDesign. And
Right.
because I know how to use the like official industry standard,
Yeah.
using Canva feels like I'm cheating, but it isn't. It doesn't
No,
matter.
yeah. And it's also one of those things where it's like, you know what? Everything's hard. So if you can find
Everything's
one
hard.
thing that
Find the
makes
easy part.
things,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And like we already said, I mean, just find the people that are going to support you, which might be very random. Like, you might never have thought that you would form such a bond with, you know, X, Y, or Z business, but
Yeah.
you do. Like, I mean, it's wild to me how some of like the biggest supports I have are completely and totally not in my industry or my area, right? But yeah, they've been amazing. And same thing with like hashtags. Like, don't get too hung up on like learning all of the ins and outs of it, but find one that is really good for what you want to share, because they are good for that,
Yeah,
and
well,
you can
hashtags are a
find.
weird like sub community. Like you can find your people through hashtags, which is so
Yes,
weird. Like what robot world do we
totally.
live in? But, like,
Honestly, is somewhere like happening somewhere. I imagine the internet like Mike TV on Willy Wonka, like, when he breaks up into all those pieces. That's what the internet is to me. And now all I want to do is go and watch, which you're probably too young to even remember this movie, but it's called The Net, and it's with Sandra Bullock, and it's like a
oh no,
movie
I haven't
about
seen that one either.
I I think it's from like 1994. It is the best. I'm gonna go watch it
Is
after
it
this.
basically like what they thought the internet was going to turn into? Is that
Yeah.
what it is? Oh my
Yes.
God, I want
Yeah.
to see what they thought it was
Yeah.
going to be. That's funny.
Oh, and it's just amazing. Like, the computers are like this big, and like the keyboards, like you hear the clicking of every single key because the keys are like this big.
Yes.
It's the
Oh
best.
my God,
Anyway,
I want to
I
see
love what this conversation has turned into.
that. Yeah.
Well, this has been lovely.
Yes, thank you
I'm
so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I sh-
Thank you so much. I will
yes.
chat soon, and so
Oh,
nice
wait,
to
do you
see
want to
you.
plug your website and your
Oh,
Instagram before you go?
right. Sure. Yeah. So you can check out the jewelry at abbiedarlingcustoms.com. And then I'm just on Instagram at
And
abbiedarlingcustoms.
it's
And it's
ABBIE, yes?
IE. All right. Well,
Well,
thank
thank you
you
so
so much.
much.
I hope to see you in person one day
Yes,
soon.
soon, and we can hug and
Okay.
maybe go thrifting or go for a coffee or both.
I love it. All
Yay.
right. Well, enjoy your
Okay.
day.
Yes, so
Thank
nice to talk to
you.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
hon.
Make sure to follow on Instagram and TikTok at heyhiwhoareyou.pod to stay up to date on new guests and new episodes.